Okay, everyone, and for today's episode of Autoimmune Rehab, I am happy to welcome Cherie Calbom. I think I'm saying her name correctly to the podcast. And Cherie's going to be talking with us today all about some good stuff. We're going to talk about seed oils, we're going to talk about juicing, we're going to talk about fibromyalgia and CFS, and maybe even some other things thrown in there. So, Cherie, why don't you start off a little bit by telling us a little bit in the short, like 30 to 60-second bit. Who are you and what brings you on to the podcast today?
Well, I have a Master of Science degree in Whole Foods Nutrition from Bastyr University. I'm author of 36 books, and my passion is to help people get well, no matter what their ailment is. My mother died of breast cancer when I was 6 years old, and it has been my mission ever since to help people heal or prevent disease.
Awesome, cool. And tell us a little bit about your journey with some of your health challenges. I know that fibromyalgia and CFS are a couple of the things that you've dealt with. How did that, play a role in your life and I guess in your journey with helping people too, probably?
Yes, it started me on my journey, actually, because no one could help me, and they still don't know what to do about those conditions, really. They just manage them, usually with antibiotics, which doesn't change anything for people, because I've talked to a lot of people who've come to me and they've been sick with those conditions for years on years and feeling horrible. I developed those two things in my 20s, and I was so sick. I had to quit work and move back home with my father and stepmother and sleep. I would sleep about 12 hours a day and wake up tired and feel like I was drugged, and I felt like I had the flu all the time, and I had aches and pains all over. And I thought, this is ridiculous. This is the beginning of my life, and I feel like it's the end. And there's got to be a better way. I had many dreams and hopes. I wanted to write books then, and I wanted to have a life. I wanted to get married, and I thought, nothing's going to happen for me. I can only lie in bed and sleep most of the time. And I went to a few doctors and no one knew what to do. I kind of scratched their head, said maybe it's all in your head. And I knew it wasn't. So I started asking around, like at health food stores, and I discovered, wow, my diet's really bad. I love junk food and fast food. I was a sugarholic. I hated vegetables. Goodness gracious. No wonder I was sick. And I also had some emotional things going on with the loss of my mother very early on in my life. And so I heard about juicing, and I got my first juicer, and I went on a 5-day juice fast. And lo and behold, on the fifth day, my body expelled a tumor that's about the size of a golf ball with blue blood vessels attached, about four or five of them. Looked like somebody cut them with a scissors. I now call it nature scissors. Uh, the phytonutrients that we know cut off angiogenesis, that is that blood supply that grows to tumors. And it's been proven in scientific studies, a whole laundry list of different names like apigenin and luteolin, and it goes on, of different phytonutrients that cut off that blood supply. Well, when that happened, I knew nothing, but I thought this is pretty impressive. And I'm sure I was heading in my mother's footsteps of cancer and early death. And so I thought, tomorrow I'm going to wake up well. Wow, I got rid of that thing. That's the Western mindset, a cure. We get rid of it, we get cured, we go on with life. And I thought, tomorrow I'm going to be well and I'll just hit the trail running. And that was not the case at all. I was on a healing journey and I needed to discover that. And so I thought, well, this is pretty impressive. So I'm not going to leave this path. And after my juice fast ended of 5 days, I continued juicing, and I decided I was just going to eat mostly vegetables and some ancient grains. And I had a lot of soups and stir fries and salads and juices and some smoothies and some ancient grains. And that was pretty much what I did for 3 months for the summer. And at the end of that time, it was one morning I woke up and thought, somebody gave me a new body in the middle of the night. I feel fabulous. I feel like jogging, and I hadn't even felt like walking before. And I thought, well, that was the best cure on earth. And I'm going back to Southern California and my friends and my former lifestyle, and I'm well. Well, when I started going out with my friends and eating the cheeseburgers and the fries and the pizza and the fried chicken and all of this horrid stuff, my symptoms started coming back, and that
Mm.
scared the daylights out of me. Once you taste that health, that priceless health, it is so frightening to think you could lose it again. And the light bulbs came on, and I thought, I've got to follow a more strict and narrow path. And yes, I can go out with my friends, but I can't eat what they're eating. I have to order something different. And it was a two steps forward and one step back time of my life. How much can I get away with? And maybe we're all that way in some respects. Can I
I think
have a bite or
so. Yeah.
two? Or maybe I can have three, and get away with it. But I realized I couldn't get away with much. And what I could have, though, I could make an exchange. And I had to do a lot of talking with myself. You can have this. You can't have this, but you can have great health and you can feel great and you can wake up and be happy each morning and feel good about your life. And so I decided that was a better trade-off. And because of that, I thought I really want to be a credible source of information. Who's going to believe a girl who said, gee, I did this and got well? And so I went back and got my Master of Science in Whole Foods Nutrition so I could teach people the basics of what it means to get well through changing your diet.
Well, because unfortunately, a lot of us aren't taught, and too many of the doctors and medical professionals have no clue. So,
They don't.
yeah,
Yes.
unfortunately, they don't. So, let's backtrack a little bit. So, you said you tried that 5-day juice cleanse. Did you just go from eating all your junk food to one day waking up and trying that thing? You just jumped in and did it?
I did. And
Wow,
that was like a double whammy, but good
I
thing I was
bet.
in my 20s.
Yeah,
When you're in your 20s, you bounce back a lot quicker than doing what I'm talking about. And then when you're decades older, it would really knock somebody for a loop if, they were 40, 50, 60, or 70 and tried, just from a junk food lifestyle to do a 5-day juice fast. It's pretty hard when all those toxins come pouring out. But I survived it, and I got rid of more than toxins. I got rid of a tumor. So I'm so glad I did, and jumped in there when I was young and just really went for it.
for sure, absolutely. Yeah, I bring that up just because I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't know if I could go, just from that one extreme to the next. But
And it's not what I would recommend,
so
really,
I was gonna say you probably don't recommend that to most people.
not to most people. You can work up to it, and eventually, yes, you can do a longer juice fast. Maybe you start though with one day. You first start juicing though, and you make your beautiful fresh juices in the morning. Um, and maybe you have one or two glasses. I have three. I do different things in the morning, and you change your diet and you get rid of the junk food and you start eating a lot more vegetables and maybe some ancient grains. And if you're vegan, you find your beans and lentils and split peas, or if you're not, you make your choices of high quality protein and you work into this and work up to it, and then maybe you can do a 1-day juice fast somewhere, a few weeks, months into it, and maybe down the trail you can do 2 days, but work into it. And
Yeah,
it's
for sure, absolutely. So, how would you recommend that somebody that's never really juiced? Because I know a lot of people, are like juicing, they don't really do that. How would you recommend that somebody figures out like what kind of recipes to use, what kind of juicer to use, all that kind of stuff?
oh yes, and that is the basics. That's the beginners. Let's get started juicing, right?
Hmm.
You do need some good recipe bases. And I can give you two really fast that taste good, because if you're new to juicing and you have something that tastes like beets and dirt,
Yeah.
or greens that's bitter, you probably won't juice again. So I say make either a lemonade base or make a carrot apple ginger or just carrot apple base. So maybe 5 carrots and 1 apple. Apples are your low sugar fruit, and green apple is your lowest sugar fruit. So if you're needing, and if you've got any kind of autoimmune disease or anything, you're probably going to need to keep your sugars low because you've got inflammation. At the root of every condition is inflammation. So you need to keep your sugars low. So carrot, apple, ginger is a nice base, or if you don't like ginger, you don't like the spice, leave that out. Or lemonade. One lemon and one apple makes a nice lemonade base. And I do all the time green lemonade, and you can have spinach lemonade, kale, chard, parsley. Just pick a green and you've got your good base, or you've got your carrot, apple. Into that, you can add maybe some celery and a couple of green leaves. But always get a good tasting base if you're starting out, or you're just probably never going to do it again. And then a lot of people too don't have a good juicer. They get a very inexpensive one because they think, say, I'm just getting started, but the juicer is miserable. And they say, I'm never doing that again because it's really an awful juicer. So, juicing is so good for you. It's worth the investment, I say. So I'll just tell you quickly, I love the Nama juicer. It's the one with two chambers, and you put your produce in the top,
Mhm.
close your lid, turn it on, walk away. It juices for you. So you don't have to stand there and feed stuff with a plunger and push it through. It makes it very easy, and it's easy to clean. So you can check it out. It's at my website, juiceladyinfo.com, and you can use my code juicelady and get a really nice discount of $60. But that's the one I love. And I also recommend cold press or masticating over the centrifugal that just spins around and ejects your produce,
Yeah.
because those uh, produce a pretty wet pulp, and you're losing money. You're spending a lot more for produce, and it's taking a lot more produce than if you really have a juicer like the Nama presses. And there are others that press as well. You get a drier pulp and you save a lot more money in the long run.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Yeah, I know I've tried carrot apple beet is a combination that I've tried that I actually think is pretty good.
It's good. Yes, and beets are very cleansing for the liver, and they're a good
Mhm.
blood purifier as well. You can do, if you get used to juicing, you can do a beet tonic where and you can mix it with other juices that taste good, just like you said, carrot, apple. And the recommendation is 1 ounce of beet juice every single day for a week, and then you up it to 2 ounces every single day for a week, and then 3 ounces for a week, and 4 ounces fourth week every day. That's an incredible beet tonic for your liver and a rejuvenation drink for your whole system.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point to Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Absolutely. So you said you started the journey, you kind of took a few steps backward, then you took a few steps forward, and then you went and got your nutrition degree, and then what happened? Did you continue sticking with that healing path, or did you kind of fall off the path again?
I pretty much stuck with it, but as I said, I've tried to see how much I could get away with. I'm a
Yeah.
human being. And I think almost everybody is like that. You're out with friends, and boy, what they ordered sure looks good. And maybe I can have a few bites of that. And I realized I can't get away with a whole lot. But yeah, it has been a back and forth. And more and more, I realized I just can't do these things. And so desserts, sweets are something that's totally gone from my list, and it's been gone for a few decades. So
Yeah.
I don't touch them. It's just really horrible for me, and I pay a hefty price. And we all have to learn and listen to our bodies, and that's what I teach a lot. One man's food truly is another man's poison.
Yeah.
Some things that are every man's poison, but like sugar is not
Sugar is really
good.
bad for a lot of people, and it really not only does it increase your inflammation, I've discovered that sugar can increase pain levels, not just
Oh,
in me, but in everybody. I mean, like, I
yes.
just oh, I stay totally clear of sugar for, a variety of reasons, but yeah.
And there's another one I wanted to talk about, and it's part of my new book, The Truth About Seed Oils, and that
Mhm.
is those industrial seed oils that are in almost every packaged item we buy.
Yeah.
in the health food store, crackers and chips and the salad dressings. We really have to be good detectives. I call them the silent killer. We just don't know that they're insidious, and they contribute big time to inflammation. That's been proven because they're so high in omega-6 fatty acids. Not that we don't need those, we do, but we're getting way too much. We're getting about a 15-to-1 ratio to
Hmm.
omega-3s, and we should be getting maximum 4-to-1. Ideal is 1-to-1. And
Yeah.
so many people don't even get hardly any omega-3s in their diet, which is so sad. And where do you get them? Like walnuts is one, or walnut milk, hemp seed, hemp milk, flax seed, flax oil, fatty cold water fish,
Fish.
fish
Yeah.
oil. Uh,
Yeah.
that's where we get our omega-3s. And there may be people listening to us now that say, well, I don't eat any of that because there are people who don't like fish and these particular oils and nuts and seeds I mentioned, people just don't eat them. So we're way out of proportion as a society for what we're doing. And when we get all these omega-6s from the industrial seed oils, and I'm going to name those in just a moment, we get a lot of inflammation because it's so imbalanced. And what is the root of our pain, our dis-ease? Inflammation. It's at the
Yeah.
root of all of it. And so this I call the silent killer. It's stoking the fire and we don't even know it. And we don't even know that those oils are in what we just bought. Even that health food store protein bar, it may have it in it. We
Hmm.
good
Yeah.
detectives. I shop with a magnifying glass that has a light on it. Manufacturers are getting smart. They're putting things in little teeny print with, white on yellow background or something like that. And it's just so hard to read. So you may have to take a picture of it and blow it up so you can read the label. But what are those oils? Soy, corn, canola, safflower, sunflower, grapeseed oil, rice bran oil, cottonseed oil, and peanut oil. Those are your seed oils that are so bad. And besides the omega-6 fatty acids that they are just very rich in, they're also processed very poorly. High heat over 500 degrees, or at least that, which causes really bad toxic breakdown. It creates aldehydes and lipid peroxides, very damaging to tissues. They use hexane, a really toxic chemical, to help extract every little drop of oil out of those seeds. They use degumming agents, and on it goes. And then it pours out in a clear, odorless liquid that they've called for years vegetable oil. It's not vegetable oil. It's
No, it's not real vegetable oil. I mean,
no
like olive
vegetable.
oil is actually, and coconut oil, those are real vegetable oils, but
Yes,
the
but
other oils are not real vegetable oils, and they're super cheap as well, which is part of the reason that a lot of manufacturers use them, is
that is
because
right.
they're so much cheaper than, if you put real coconut oil or avocado oil or olive oil into something, it costs a lot more. And
Oh yeah.
they're trying to cut corners and save money and,
Mhm.
sell you a cheaper product or whatever. But
It's all
yeah,
about the money. They
yeah,
always say follow the money. And
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely, that is it. And that's why restaurants are buying even Crisco or a product like Crisco,
Hmm.
that Americans are pretty aware that we don't want that. It's rich in trans fats, which is very damaging for the heart.
Yeah.
Restaurants are still buying it, and they paint a lot of fried foods with it. So it comes out looking all juicy and shiny and
Hmm.
beautiful. And it is so bad for us. It is still a, probably one of the biggest contributors to heart disease. And it's a big contributor to cancer and to metabolic disorders and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, and on it goes. And scientific studies have proven all the things I just named are connected with those oils, and also dementia and Alzheimer's, and depression and anxiety, and even aggression linked with homicide, of all things. So here people are just so unaware. They order that big juicy cheeseburger and a side of fries and think, oh, is this a nice lunch or dinner? And
Yeah, nope.
I know what you're getting.
That kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. For sure, absolutely. So, obviously, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't, go buy big things of rice bran oil and sunflower oil and canola oil and cook with their own food at home with that stuff. But they're still getting a lot of it because it's either in a lot of the food when you eat out, or it's in, your chips and your crackers and, your protein bars and all that other stuff. If somebody's listening to this and thinking, yikes, I definitely need to try
Oh.
to start getting some of that out of my life, what would you recommend would be the first step that somebody would take to try to at least start cutting back, even if maybe in the beginning they can't totally get rid of all of it?
And I don't know at this point if we'll ever totally get rid of it, right? If we eat out once
Possibly
in a
not. Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
but we can cut way back and reap big, big benefits from doing that. So, where do you start? And first of all, you were talking about what we cook with at home. And I've talked with people that seem pretty savvy on many levels, but didn't know that they shouldn't be cooking with canola oil or grapeseed oil because those have been advertised a lot as being very healthy.
Mhm.
But the oils that you should be cooking with, you named them, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. You can also have a little sesame oil, make sure it's cold processed,
Hmm.
and then macadamia nut and almond oil. That's it. Oh, and oil butter, ghee
Yeah,
is
like ghee. Yeah, ghee's another
is
good
a
one.
good
Yeah.
one as well. And so those are your oils that are good to cook with. I know beef tallow has been popular. Some people are for it, and others are against it because they're vegan or vegetarian. But it's not bad. It's got a high heat smoke point.
Yeah.
So a few restaurant chains have gone over to that, but most have not because it's more expensive and harder to source. But you can start with your own house, your own kitchen, clean out your pantry, and then the next step would be being a good scout. There are a couple of apps that you can get. Seed Oil Scout is one, and Bobby Approved is another one. You can download them onto your phone. And you can, with Bobby Approved, I have a friend who uses it all the time. And she said, you just type in any product you want. You go to your health food store and you see the crackers and you type in that cracker, and it'll tell you if there's seed oil in there or not. So speaking of crackers, I have one brand that I know there's no seed oil in, and I have nothing to do with the company. I just buy their crackers, and it's Mary's Crackers at health food stores, and they're good. They have seeds in them, and you can get black sesame and all sorts of different
They are
varieties.
really good, and I think they actually sell them in bulk at Costco too, actually.
Oh,
I
I
think you
may
can
have to
get a
look. I'm
bigger package of them, I think. Yeah, they're
oh,
really good.
they're
There's
very
also, I'm trying to think, oh, the name escapes me, but there's another one that does, and they do kind of more of like the paleo type
mm,
crackers too, that doesn't have seed oils in it. And I'm trying to remember what they're called, but they're all made of like almond flour and like coconut
yes.
flour, and
I think Costco carries those from time to
Costco carries those too sometimes in bulk.
yes.
Yeah.
And those are delicious as well. And Costco has an avocado oil mayonnaise now.
Hmm.
Um,
You can
I need,
also find corn chips and potato chips that are made with avocado oil or coconut
yes,
oil if you read the label.
yes.
You have to always be checking the label. You have to be a big label scout as to what's in
Oh,
things.
Label Scout. Get yourself a little magnifying glass that can travel with you so you can see what's on those labels. But yes, start looking at labels and buying salad. Well, there's a good salad dressing with no seed oils. It's olive oil, and that's Bragg's. And you can get the sesame ginger or the regular vinaigrette, and it's delicious. And it's only sweetened with honey. There's no sugar in it, nothing bad.
Hmm.
So I love Bragg's dressing. It isn't in all the stores, but it's in many grocery stores and, of course, health food type stores. I haven't seen it yet at Costco, but there are options out there, and we just need to be very wise shoppers. Be very aware of frozen foods,
Oh
frozen
yeah.
dinners, because they
Hmm.
usually pour a lot of that oil
Oh
in
yeah.
there. And be aware eating out. I mean, probably everybody's going to say once in a great while I am going to have something fried, and just know you're getting a bunch of bad seed oil probably most of the time, unless you eat somewhere like Steak and Shake where they do their fries in beef tallow. But mostly when you eat out, don't get anything fried. Get it baked, grilled. You have a much better chance of much less seed oil and vegetables, and you can have a real potato with real butter on it rather than
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there are these, I know there's these here in Utah, we have a chain called Vessel Kitchen that specializes in more like farm to table type food, and they don't use seed oil in any of their food. And, it's higher everything's organic and farm raised when it comes to the meat. And I mean, it's obviously more expensive, but, I mean, you get what you pay for.
you do, and you're worth it.
Yeah,
We're all worth it. And in the end, I always say you pay now or you pay later. But it seems like when we pay later, we pay a much heftier price than if we pay now for quality food and stay healthy all of our lives. And then we don't pay with pain and suffering and high uh, medical bills also.
absolutely, for sure. And so let's talk a little bit about a couple other questions to ask you before we wrap up here is how strict do you need to be to see a change? So in other words, if somebody's really struggling with it and they're thinking, okay, well, I can maybe they have been cooking with it at home and didn't realize they were, they're like, okay, I can stop cooking with it at home. I can read my labels and I can eat only chips and crackers and get rid of a lot of that in the food I buy at home, but I still like to go out to eat sometimes, and I'm not necessarily eating out at, these higher end, healthier places that don't have it. So every once in a while, I'm probably going to get some.
Mhm.
Somebody's still going to be able to see some relief and some healing that way, or do they really need to be 100% strict like a celiac who can't have gluten per se?
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question because when you're trying to turn things around, I go back to my days of chemistry, where I'm where I had to pour things in test tubes and get reactions in organic chemistry. And it was a very interesting time wondering why I was doing that until it dawned on me a few years after I had graduated. Oh, yeah, this is why. So this is biochemistry. We're like a big test tube in one respect, our body. And we're pouring things in there and reactions are being created all the time. And if you're trying to really turn that ship around for a little while, you should be really strict if you want to see a big major change. It's so worth it. It is so worth it. And that's what I did, even young like I was, and wanting to be somewhere else and wanting to do something else. I thought I've got to be very, very, very strict and just see what can happen. And I knew nothing about nutrition then. And it paid off. And I would say just take 2 or 3 months of your life and say, I'm going to be really, really, really strict for this time. Once you get that turned around and you start feeling good, then you can hear your body speak to you. It will scream at you sometimes, but you can maybe have a little of this or a little of that. And yes, we all are going to probably go out to dinner because I do. We go out with friends, my husband and I do. But you can make as wise a choice as possible from the menu and still get something that you like. But I would say give it your best shot in the beginning. Why not? You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. And, it's just a few days out of your life, really, when you look at the whole span of things. And why not be really strict for a little while and just reap huge rewards for that?
It's good. That's awesome. I love that. So, anything else you want to add before I have one final question to ask you? And then, of course, we will link to your website in the description and we'll link to your book too. I'm assuming people can get your book. Is it out on Amazon now?
It's on Amazon for pre-order, but early copies just came in, so I don't know how soon Amazon will get them, but soon, very soon they'll be getting them. So here it is, The Truth About Seed Oils, and I'll get it a little closer, and you can order it on Amazon. And It's up on my website, which will take you to Amazon, and I'm at juiceladyinfo.com, and that's INFO. So juiceladyinfo.com, and you can sign up there for freebies like my 7 juices for fighting inflammation. You can get that free when you sign up. And just come visit me and follow me on Instagram at Juice Lady Cherie, Cherie. I've always, every day, got something coming out, either a recipe or a tip or something to motivate you to continue your journey into
Oh,
health, your journey into health.
cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us, Sherry. So the question I always like to ask everybody, the final question is if you could go back in time to, let's say, when you were pretty sick and right before, either before you started your juice cleanse or right after you did that 5 day juice cleanse, and tell yourself something that you know now that you wish you'd known then, what would you tell yourself?
I would say, because it was hard for me, don't be discouraged. You have no idea what you're about to become. And when you get through this and come out on the other side, to help people. And it opened up a beautiful career where I ended up as the juice lady working with the Juice Man company, then got passed on when the company sold to Salton and became George Foreman's nutritionist, and 13 fabulous years of cooking on camera with the George Foreman grill. I would have said to myself, look, don't be discouraged and hang in there and be joyful, even though you feel awful right now, because there's an amazing future that lies ahead. And it does for all of us. Everybody has got a purpose and an amazing future that lies ahead while we're still here and we're still breathing. There's something for us to do. And just hang in there. And when it's hard, just encourage yourself. It's going to get better.
Awesome. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing.
You're welcome.